Hey, this is Mike Long. So I'm going to throw something out to you guys, a real life scenario for us as a company. So we're VetCor, we're an emergency restoration service company. And, we've gone through this past year with a couple of catastrophic events, hurricanes in Florida, the Panhandle, Alabama, the freeze thaw in Texas with franchisees, all located in different locations, all coming in one center location to one location. We as the franchisor, we handle all the command and control. So all those claims just start coming in from the insurance carriers left and right. Now we've got to go ahead and kind of, okay, this franchisee's got this sector of Houston during the winter storm. This one's got the northwest corner. This one's, those type things. Now we have to go ahead and bring that into our claim database that's coming from two other portals that may be coming because of the insurance companies. And we have a center aspect of things that's happening with all these insurance claims to help people, but we've got to make sure we got them dispatched to the right franchisee and things of that nature. Now, once that's all done, and now you're charting the progress of the claim for that customer. Now we have to go ahead and handle the accounts receivable, the invoicing and billing, and then track the accounts receivable aspect of it coming back into us once those claims are done and things. So now you're talking about maybe 3 or 4 different databases or different platforms. And I'm a non-tech guy, so I'm just talking here. I'm the franchise development guy. But now you're talking about 4 different platforms in a real life scenario. Now we're all military folks. We can run to the sound of the guns. We can command and control operations and get what we need to be done. But now on that front end and on that back end of things, where it really starts kind of get, oh shit type, now what are we doing? So I love to hear your feedback on, and listen, we're a process. We've got an E9 running, our training program, our operations side of the house, those type things, right? So we've got the E9 from the franchisor level, training everyone to a specific standard. So when they go out and do it, it's all done to the proper standard. So that's not the issue. The issue is how you start taking all these different platforms from a software perspective and then tie that all together. And that's real world for us, man, as a company. And that's something we're struggling with right now. And I'd appreciate any feedback and maybe then hopping and, individually offline, getting with, all 3 of you or one of you or whoever's best seated to, kind of answer that for us and then see what that solution may be and, look at it, holistically.
I'm curious about that one. Actually, you say, hey, this especially happens during disaster where you need to coalesce on a bunch of franchisees in one area. How similar is the hurricane in Houston to, I don't know, whatever event may happen in Florida? Do they all have their unique nuances that cause difficulty, or will the same solution that works in Houston ultimately work when there's whatever the next disaster is you respond to?
Chris, legitimate question. So really it comes down to, it doesn't matter if it's a massive freeze thaw like they had in Texas to a hurricane that they had hitting the Panhandle or the East Coast of the United States. It's still the same, platforms that are coming to bear.
Systems, same people.
System, same pull, push type thing, pulling the stuff in from the insurance carriers and bringing and receiving that, then pushing it out to the individual franchisees on what their area responsibilities are. Now it's all about pushing back out to the insurance carriers on the invoicing side, and then pulling it back in on the accounts receivable side.
I'd love to address that one. So look, one of the realities of doing anything out in the actual world is before you go someplace, it helps to know where you actually are, right? Otherwise, the map is useless. So, my answer to that step 0 problem would be write it down. Write down what your actual process currently is, right? Because that's the one that's the only one that currently works, right? So that's your type.
And we have that, and we have that.
You do. I bet you do.
There's no substitute for the whiteboard, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the huge advantage that I think a lot of franchises have, is that they have already had to write that stuff down because they've got to communicate that process to to their franchisees, right? So here's the thing, a tool like Decisions, for example, it can do a lot of stuff, but no tool can do everything, right? The main advantage in my own opinion, the main advantage, the singular advantage that a tool like Decisions or other similar tools has is that it can, yes, accomplish a lot of those steps, but most importantly, act as a traffic cop. Even if Decisions can't do a particular thing, it can initiate that process somewhere else, right? So that process that you have, the one you actually have, the one that you actually use is, it's made up of a bunch of steps, right? People do stuff. And so really automating that process, not some theoretical process, that process, automating that process really comes down to figuring out, okay, I got a box over here and a box over here connected by an arrow. How do I make that part happen more efficiently? And okay, here's another one that takes up a lot of time, and that's where you start analyzing, like, all right, which one's the part that takes up all the bandwidth, right? Okay, how do I make that one more efficient? It's like playing whack-a-mole. You're looking for the tallest mole and you're whacking them down, right? And ultimately, you use a tool like Decisions in order to coordinate that process so that the tool knows, okay, well, this thing happened over here. Let's start that process over here. Okay, that one's done over here. Boom, let's start.
Yeah,
that.
so that's a great, and so similar. So you have 4 franchisees out there, in the wind, doing their job. They've been issued out, 5, claims. Once they complete claim 1 and 2, then we have to manually go out then and issue them another claim. Yeah. But when you can put something in place where they're down to 3 claims, let's issue them 2 more. And oh, by the way, all their paperwork that has been submitted on time and in the proper fashion, all that type of stuff. So totally get, Jason, what you're saying. It's a matter of what's the right solution and the right thing for us as a very small startup type franchisor. But we need to be prepared that as we grow and we're now 17 territories, by the next year you're 40, and the next thing you're 80, and there's hurricanes and cats.
Yep.
We don't want to be the serve pros where they show up and go, okay, what floor, and or whatever it is. We want to be, you show up, you've got first floor west wing, you got first floor east wing, and then as those rooms get done in an apartment complex, they're filed in, and then new claims are issued out. Then accounts receivable ties into it. So it's a multifaceted thing. But this conversation for a non-techie totally resonates with me from the operational side of things for us.
Well, here it is from the operational side, Mike. You at the end of the day, what you want is a smaller problem, right? So that's where the deconstruction happens. And because you've got a strong process, you're already kind of much of the way there, right? You don't want to solve the problem of how do we improve our process. You want to solve the problem of how do I get this piece of data from this database over here into that thing over there so that guy knows what to do. That's the problem that you want to solve. And
marry it with this other database that's over here that's got to come in.
Yep, right. If you can work yourself to a point where you're solving those problems in the micro, eventually you'll get to the point where you're designing a brand new kind of, Uber process. But for now, man, you're building the airplane on the way down to the ground. You just got to keep that sucker in the air.
Right.
Mike,
I'm sorry, who did I interrupt?
You may not be.
There's a lot of new faces on here, man. I hope you get to introductions.
Oh yeah, we got to. Let's take another 2 minutes here, and then let's wrap on the discussion and bring in some intros.
Mike, you not be super impressed with my answer, because I don't think it's not like super complicated. It's going to be pretty simple, but I think there's 3 big pathways you can go down here and solve this. There's 3 ways people go down solving this. One is, it sounds like, if I understand correctly, you've got essentially 4 different databases handling different sections of the business, right? So, I mean, door number one option is you find a tool that is one tool that manages all those different systems and processes, and all the connections are already built in. Not a lot of people actually end up getting to that space. These big ERPs that handle all that, right? Because some of them can be incredibly expensive to buy and incredibly expensive to configure for your business. But it is an option that it's good to know about. Option 2 then is, you can find any number of electronic solutions that are going to tie those databases together. So basically, if your process that you have, process map somewhere says, take data from database A from these fields, and then at these decision points, or based on, yes, no, whatever, move it to these fields in database B, right? And so, you know, you find whatever tools those are that can be configured to act on those decisions that you're currently, I assume, doing manually to tie those databases together. And then option 3, very common option, is you just keep hiring more indirect labor to keep managing those manual parts of your process. And so, I mean, those are really kind of the 3 directions you can go. But the real big question that I think for companies is, when do I know that one is or how do I know if one's a better answer than another, and when? And so what I could say is, you know, you're probably at a point where option 3, throwing a little bit more manpower on it, may be your best short-term solution.
Yeah, but for us, it's not, and we already know that. We already know that because it's very specific with insurance agencies, carriers, things like that. I'll touch base with you offline, Tim. Just kind of discuss it. I think, you know, there'd be some synergies, you know, or Chris or Kevin, but there's a solution out there for us. We need to get to it because hurricane season's around the corner. Not saying we're going to pull the trigger and be able to make something happen in the next month, but it's something we definitely need to do as a company.
So the last thing I would say for anybody else in a similar situation, right? One thing that is going to be in your best, I think is in your best interest to do, is really start thinking about option 2, those tools that can be used to tie your databases together. Start thinking about those and researching those early. Most importantly, figure out high level what tools will do what you need them to do and what they're going to cost, because you can very easily get into a rut when you're growing fast. Just keep hiring more indirect labor and never getting around to doing it. And you're never going to know when the right time is if you don't know what the tool is or what it's going to cost. Once you have that in your back pocket, it becomes a lot easier to make the decision on time or early versus too late.
I think a lot of people get stuck on the obstacle of this database doesn't talk to this database, but like you were alluding to, there's often a lot of technical solutions to that. There's people that know how to do it. They know how to write APIs. All these things can talk to each other. So don't accept that as an obstacle. Like say, okay, I want to use the best software for the best purpose. You know, this one's really good at visualization. This one's really good at data storage. I want to use this one for this one for this. That's fine. I need to hire someone who knows how to make them talk.